Picture this. It is 5:30 in the morning. The city is still dark. The streets are empty. Most people are still asleep, wrapped in the comfort of their beds, their alarm set for hours from now. But somewhere, in a gym that smells like sweat and leather, a fighter is already moving. Shadowboxing in front of a mirror, knees rising, elbows cutting through the air, breath controlled, eyes focused. No audience, no cameras, no applause, just the work. This is not the moment anyone will ever celebrate. Nobody posts this on social media. Nobody gives you a trophy for waking up before the sun. But this quiet, unglamorous, repetitive morning is where championships are actually built. Welcome back to the Discipline Code. I am your host, and this is episode 5, The Champion's Morning. Today we are going to explore something that sounds simple, but is actually one of the most powerful forces in human performance, the daily routine, specifically the morning routine. Not the Instagram version with the green smoothies and the gratitude journals and the perfectly lit sunrise yoga, the real version, the one that is boring, repetitive, and sometimes painful, but compounds over months and years into something extraordinary. We are going to look at what happens inside your brain and body in the first 60 minutes after you wake up. We are going to examine why the world's greatest athletes treat their mornings like sacred ground. We are going to explore the mathematics of getting just 1% better every single day. And we are going to connect all of this to the story of a man who started training at 7 years old and never stopped. A man whose mornings, repeated thousands of times over decades, built a 2-time world champion. Let us begin with your biology. Here is something most people do not know. The moment you open your eyes in the morning, your body initiates one of the most powerful hormonal events of your entire day. It is called the cortisol awakening response, or CAR. According to research published in Frontiers in Neuroscience in 2022 by Bowles and colleagues at Oregon Health and Science University, circulating cortisol peaks 30 to 60 minutes after you wake up from nocturnal sleep. This is not the bad cortisol you hear about, the chronic stress cortisol that damages your health. This is a sharp, purposeful spike, a biological alarm system designed to prepare your body for the anticipated challenges of the day ahead. The researchers found that this cortisol awakening response helps prepare the body for altered posture, increased energy demands, and social interactions. Think of it as your body's way of saying, the day is coming and I am getting you ready for it. Here is what makes this fascinating. The study demonstrated that this response is regulated by your internal circadian clock. It is not random. It is not just a reaction to light or noise. Your body has an endogenous rhythm, a biological expectation of when you will wake up and what you will need. The largest cortisol awakening response occurs when you wake up at a consistent time that aligns with your circadian phase. When you wake up at irregular times or during circadian phases that correspond to the afternoon or evening, there is virtually no cortisol awakening response at all. What does this mean in practical terms? It means that waking up at the same time every single day, even on weekends, even on holidays, is not just a discipline hack. It is a biological optimization. Your body literally prepares better for the day when it knows when the day will begin. Now, a comprehensive review published by News Medical in January 2026, synthesizing evidence from multiple peer-reviewed studies, found that circadian-aligned morning routines support cognitive performance and mood regulation by stabilizing sleep-wake rhythms and neurobiological processes. The review identified 6 key morning behaviors supported by evidence: light exposure, physical activity, nutrition, hydration, mindfulness practices, and consistent wake time. Let me highlight one finding that I think is particularly powerful. The review cited research showing that morning exercise is effective in increasing physical performance, including muscular strength, anaerobic power, and endurance, while simultaneously improving blood sugar and hormone levels. This was published in Applied Physiology, Nutrition, and Metabolism in 2020. But here is the nuance that most morning routine advice misses. The review also noted that exercise timing should account for individual chronotype. Strong evening chronotypes, people who are naturally night owls, may actually experience circadian misalignment when forced to exercise in the early morning, potentially reducing the benefits. This is not a one-size-fits-all prescription. The champion's morning is not about copying someone else's schedule. It is about understanding your own biology and building a routine that works with it, not against it. And there is one more piece of morning biology that matters enormously. Even mild dehydration, which accumulates overnight during 6 to 8 hours without water, has been associated with impairments in attention, working memory, and mood. Your brain is approximately 75% water. The first glass of water in the morning is not a wellness trend. It is a cognitive necessity. Now let us talk about something that connects morning routines to performance in a way most people never consider. It is called ego depletion, and it was first described by psychologist Roy Baumeister in 1998. According to Baumeister's most recent review, published in Current Opinion in Psychology in 2024 and already cited 124 times, ego depletion theory proposes that self-regulation depends on a limited energy resource, what we commonly call willpower. His updated framework emphasizes that this resource is consumed not just by resisting temptation, but by decision-making, planning, and self-discipline of any kind. The American Psychological Association summarizes it this way: since Baumeister's original work was published in 1998, numerous studies have built a case for willpower depletion. Willpower, they explain, is the ability to resist short-term temptations in order to meet long-term goals, and that ability is finite. Now, here's where this connects to morning routines. Every decision you make in the morning, what to wear, what to eat, whether to exercise, when to leave the house, what to check on your phone, draws from the same limited pool of willpower that you will need later for the hard decisions, the creative decisions, the strategic decisions, the decisions that actually move your life forward. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck every day. This is why Barack Obama limited himself to gray or blue suits. This is why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt. They were not making fashion statements. They were conserving cognitive resources. But here's what a fighter understands that a tech executive might not. When your morning routine is physical, when it involves training, conditioning, and skill work, you are not just conserving willpower, you are building it. Think about what happens in the brain when a behavior becomes automatic. Research by Ashby and colleagues published in Trends in Cognitive Sciences in 2010 and cited 631 times demonstrated that habit learning involves a gradual transfer from cortical processing, which is conscious, effortful, and resource intensive, to subcortical processing in the basal ganglia, which is automatic and requires minimal cognitive effort. In other words, when you repeat a morning routine enough times, it stops being a decision, it becomes automatic. Your brain literally shifts the processing from the prefrontal cortex, where willpower lives, to the basal ganglia, where habits live. The routine no longer costs you anything, it just happens. This is what separates someone who has been training for 30 years from someone who started last month. For the veteran, the morning training session is not a battle of willpower. It is not a negotiation with the alarm clock. It is simply what the body does. The way you brush your teeth, the way you lock your front door. Automatic, effortless, inevitable. And here is the beautiful paradox. The more automatic your morning becomes, the more willpower you have available for everything else. The routine protects your capacity for the rest of the day. Now I want to show you something that will change how you think about daily effort. It is a simple mathematical equation, and it comes from James Clear's work in Atomic Habits, which has been cited over 60 times in academic literature since its publication in 2018. The equation is this: 1.01 raised to the power of 365 equals 37.78. Let me translate that into plain language. If you get just 1% better every single day for 1 year, you do not end up 365% better. You end up 37.78 times better. That is not a linear improvement. That is exponential growth. That is the compound effect applied to human performance. Now flip it. 0.99 raised to the power of 365 equals 0.03. If you get 1% worse every day through skipped sessions, poor sleep, bad nutrition, or simply doing nothing, you do not end up slightly worse. You end up at 3% of where you started. You have lost 97% of your capacity. The difference between 37 times better and 97% worse is just 2% per day. 1% up versus 1% down. That is the gap between a world champion and someone who quit. As Clear writes, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. This is why morning routines matter so much more than people realize. It is not about any single morning. No single training session will make you a champion. No single meditation will transform your mind. No single healthy breakfast will change your body composition. But 1,000 mornings? 2,000? 5,000? Let me put this in concrete terms. If a fighter trains for 2 hours every morning, 6 days a week, for 30 years, which is approximately what we are talking about with someone who started at age 7 and is still training in their late 30s, that is over 18,000 training sessions, 18,000 mornings of showing up, 18,000 repetitions of the same fundamental routine. At 1% improvement per session, even a fraction of 1%, the compound effect over 18,000 sessions is not just extraordinary, it is almost incomprehensible. So how do you actually build a morning routine that sticks? Not for a week, not for a month, for decades. The answer comes from a concept James Clear calls habit stacking. The formula is elegantly simple. After I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. The Cleveland Clinic, in a 2024 health advisory, explains it this way. You attach a new habit to one you already do consistently, so it becomes automatic. You are leveraging existing neural pathways as triggers for new behaviors. This is how a champion's morning is actually structured. It is not a random collection of healthy activities. It is a chain. Each link triggers the next. Wake up. That triggers putting on training clothes. Putting on training clothes triggers drinking water. Drinking water triggers the warm-up. The warm-up triggers the main training session. The training session triggers the cool-down. The cool-down triggers breakfast. No decisions required, no willpower spent. Each action is simply the inevitable consequence of the action before it. Now let me add another layer from the research. The O-Waves team spent years researching the daily routines of over 50 Olympic and Paralympic athletes with a combined total of more than 100 medals. Their findings, published in July 2024, revealed several patterns that are directly relevant to what we are discussing. First, the 10,000-hour principle. Michael Phelps started swimming competitively at age 7 and did not miss a single morning practice from age 11 through 16. Not on Sundays, not on birthdays, not on Christmas morning. At an average of 4 hours per day in the pool, he had shattered the 10,000-hour threshold before his first Olympics at age 15. Simone Biles started gymnastics at age 6 and switched to homeschooling specifically to increase her training from 20 hours per week to 32 hours per week. Her parents built a gymnasium near their home to reduce her commute to less than 10 minutes. Every obstacle between her and the morning routine was systematically eliminated. Katie Ledecky started swimming at age 6 and spends 4 to 6 hours daily in the pool, not counting dryland workouts and physical therapy. Estimates put her over 15,000 hours before the Rio Olympics, where she broke multiple records at just 19 years of age. Do you see the pattern? These are not people who decided at 25 that they should probably start a morning routine. These are people whose entire lives were organized around the morning training session from childhood. The routine was not added to their life. Their life was built around the routine. Second, the O-Waves research identified what they called manufactured willpower. Coaches and trainers purposefully orchestrate goal sessions, detailed visualizations, and daily practices to artificially grow their athletes' hunger for excellence. 3-time Olympic gold medalist Kristen Armstrong, who won her 3rd consecutive gold medal on the eve of her 43rd birthday, explained it this way: "My success always came back to my why. You have to know why you are doing it. A vision is one of the most powerful things you can have in life." Michael Phelps, at just 8 years old, kept a list of goals and target times posted on his refrigerator at his coach's instruction, so he would see it every single morning. Every day, the first thing he saw reinforced why the morning mattered. There is one more element of the champion's morning that we need to discuss, and it is the one most people skip because it does not feel like real work. It is meditation and visualization. Christine Keim, an Olympic performance trainer who has worked with multiple Olympic athletes, wrote for Headspace that when she trains Olympic athletes, she starts them with meditation. Her exact words: "I often describe meditation as the foundation of visualization training because it is during meditation that athletes are able to empty their minds and focus on their breathing. This mindset sets the stage for creating a visualization practice." She explains that the central nervous system, to some degree, does not distinguish between real and imagined events. It processes all images as if they are real. This is why visualization works. When an athlete mentally rehearses a perfect performance, seeing the movements, feeling the timing, hearing the crowd, the brain creates neural pathways that mirror actual physical practice. A systematic review by Kim and Kim, published in the journal Explore in 2021 and cited 27 times, confirmed that meditation enhances athletic performance through randomized controlled trials. And a 2025 study, published in PMC and cited 18 times, found that athletes with higher athletic achievement tend to have stronger imagery abilities. The recommendation from Olympic trainers is consistent: 10 to 15 minutes of meditation and visualization daily, either in the morning before training or at the end of the day. Most champions choose the morning because the mind is freshest, the cortisol awakening response has primed alertness, and the visualization sets the intention for the entire training session that follows. The comprehensive review from News Medical adds neuroscience to this. Mindfulness induces neuroplastic changes in the prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex, hippocampus, and amygdala, supporting improved stress regulation and mood stability. And slow diaphragmatic breathing activates vagal pathways, increases heart rate variability, and shifts autonomic balance toward parasympathetic dominance. In plain language, 5 to 10 minutes of controlled breathing in the morning physically rewires your brain for better emotional control and stress management. Over months and years, these structural changes compound just like physical training does. Now let me bring all of it together through the lens of someone who has lived this reality for over 3 decades. Itai Liptz began training in Muay Thai at the age of 7. By 10, he was competing. Over the course of his career, he accumulated 54 professional fights, 40 wins, 13 losses, 1 draw, and became a 2-time Z1 World Muay Thai champion. Think about what that means in terms of mornings. If he started at 7 and has been training consistently into adulthood, we are talking about roughly 30 years of morning routines. At 6 days per week, that is approximately 9,000 mornings of training. 9,000 times waking up, putting on the gloves, and doing the work. 9,000 cortisol awakening responses, each one priming his body for the physical demands ahead. 9,000 repetitions of the same fundamental chain of habits, each one deepening the neural pathways in the basal ganglia until the routine became as automatic as breathing. 9,000 opportunities for 1% improvements to compound into something extraordinary. But here's what makes Itai's story particularly relevant to this episode. He did not just build a morning routine for fighting. He built a morning discipline that transferred to everything else. He earned a bachelor's degree in philosophy and political science. He completed an executive MBA at IE Business School in Madrid, one of the world's top-ranked programs. He built a career in business, education, and healthcare innovation. The morning routine did not just make him a champion fighter, it made him a champion learner, a champion professional, a champion in multiple domains simultaneously. This is the compound effect in action across an entire life. The discipline built in those early mornings, the consistency, the automaticity, the willpower protection, created a foundation that supported excellence in every arena he entered. As Itai himself has expressed through his work, discipline, respect, and persistence are the values that define not just martial arts, but life itself. And those values are not abstract concepts. They are lived experiences, repeated every single morning for decades. So here is your assignment. I want you to build what I call a minimum viable morning. Not a 2-hour elaborate ritual, not something that requires you to wake up at 4 in the morning, something sustainable, something you can do every single day, including weekends, holidays, and the days when you absolutely do not feel like it. Here is the framework based on everything we have covered today. Step 1. Choose a consistent wake time. Based on the cortisol awakening response research, your body prepares best when it knows when the day will begin. Pick a time, commit to it 7 days a week. This is non-negotiable. Step 2. Hydrate immediately. Before coffee, before food, before your phone. 1 full glass of water. Your brain has been dehydrated for 6 to 8 hours. Give it what it needs. Step 3. Move your body for a minimum of 10 minutes. This does not have to be an intense workout. It can be stretching, shadow boxing, a walk around the block, or body weight exercises. The goal is to signal to your nervous system that the day has begun and your body is ready. Step 4. 5 minutes of stillness, controlled breathing, visualization, setting an intention for the day. This is where you prime your prefrontal cortex and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Step 5. Connect to your why. Like Michael Phelps with his goals on the refrigerator, like Kristen Armstrong with her vision. Take 30 seconds to remind yourself why you are doing this. What are you building? What does the compound effect look like for you in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10? That is it. Hydrate, move, breathe, connect. 20 minutes, maybe less. The key is not the duration. The key is the consistency. Remember the mathematics. 1% better every single day for 365 days equals 37 times better, but only if you show up every single day. The compound effect has no tolerance for inconsistency. Miss a day and you reset the chain. Miss a week and you lose the momentum. Miss a month and you are starting over. I want to leave you with one question today. It is the question that separates people who talk about discipline from people who live it. The question is this: what did you do this morning? Not what do you plan to do tomorrow. Not what does your ideal morning look like. What did you actually do today, in the first 60 minutes after you open your eyes? Because here's the truth that every champion knows. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your morning routine is your system. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. If your morning is chaotic, reactive, and inconsistent, scrolling your phone, hitting snooze, rushing out the door, then your day will be chaotic, reactive, and inconsistent. And your year will be chaotic, reactive, and inconsistent. And your life will be chaotic, reactive, and inconsistent. But if your morning is intentional, consistent, and aligned with your biology, if you honor the cortisol awakening response, protect your willpower, stack your habits, and connect to your purpose, then the compound effect takes over. And over months and years and decades, it builds something that looks, from the outside, like extraordinary talent or luck. But from the inside, it is simply the inevitable result of showing up every single morning. That is the champion's morning. Not glamorous, not complicated, just consistent. That is episode 5 of the Discipline Code. Thank you for being here. Next week, in episode 6, the weight cut nobody sees, we are going to explore one of the most grueling and misunderstood aspects of competitive combat sports: making weight. We will examine the science of caloric restriction, water manipulation, and extreme discipline under physical duress. We will explore what it teaches about sacrifice, delayed gratification, and the difference between wanting something and being willing to suffer for it. And we will translate those lessons into principles that apply to any goal that requires you to give up short-term comfort for long-term achievement. If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is struggling with consistency. Someone who keeps starting and stopping. Someone who has not yet discovered the power of the compound morning. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay consistent, and remember, the championship is won in the mornings that nobody sees.